Welcome to Failure is Progress, presented by Sweat Factory CrossFit. I am Coach Frankie Ortega.
And I am Coach Keith Barber. Join us today as we discuss everything going on inside the CrossFit space and, more importantly, what new and exciting things are happening in our Sweat Factory CrossFit gyms.
As always, thank you to all of our listeners. We appreciate the support and truly enjoy the feedback we've been receiving from all of you.
Please reach out through our DMs on Instagram. If you aren't already following us, please do so at Failure is Progress, all lowercase. And now, on to today's episode.
All right, we are back with another episode of Failure is Progress. This time, Keith is back with me. It's been a while, my bro. So glad to see you. Good to have you again.
Good to be here,
Good
brother.
to be with you again.
Yeah.
Make it sound like you're my guest.
We're both guests.
We're guesting each other.
And we're both hosts.
It was good to work out with you this morning, man.
Yeah, that was fun, brother.
It's always fun to work out with friends,
Yeah.
especially people you look up to. What's been good with you, man? What's been good with you?
A lot of stuff, man. I've been feeling a little bit more accomplished lately. It's sometimes it's difficult for me to just get things over the finish line. I feel like I have a lot of great ideas, and I'll always start something that's really, really meaningful or impactful, at least to me. And then sometimes I just never get it over the finish line. But a couple things that I've finished that I'm super proud of. Because at MindForge we moved over to CAP programming, we no longer have a foundations program. So we basically have to write it ourselves. So I took probably 2 weeks and just tried to get it looking as professional and to get it as spelled out as clearly as possible as to what we're looking for from each session, and kind of a manual in its own right for the coaches on how to coach the foundations course. So that was something that Jen and I had spoke about ages ago when we first thought about moving over to affiliate programming. But it was kind of one of those things that was on the to-do list, but nobody had really taken charge of it.
Right.
So I was like, yeah, let me get my stuff together and get out of my head about being a procrastinator. And there's a lot of things that I was telling myself about me that was not allowing me to get things over the finish line. And now that I've kind of rewritten that story, I've been able to finish a couple things. I finished that. We have like a peer-to-peer evaluation for coaches when they take class. It's a quick, I want it to be like a 1 to 3 minute long survey. They can do it right after class. Most of the stuff that they're going to know, because it's not going to be anything super detailed. It's like, did class start and end on time? Did they use your name? Not everybody in the class's name, but did they at least address you? Because usually if you're coaching and another coach is in class, if you address that coach, you've probably gotten to everybody else already. You know what I mean? Like when other coaches are in class, we kind of pseudo let them do their own thing because you just assume they have a plan or they understand the workout well enough to know what they need to do. So usually you're checking in on everybody else, and if you get to them, you get to them, but if you don't, you kind of don't stress it. So if that coach is getting to you, they've probably checked everybody else already. So just stuff like that. Just I think it's only 7 yes or no questions, and then there's a section at the bottom for any additional notes that they want to add in. And it's not anonymous. You do have to put your name in and their name in. And the purpose of that is because we want to create that culture of feedback, right? Like I want you to own what you're saying. You know what I mean? Like if you said, hey, Alex completely screwed up the warm-up. Like I didn't feel warm at all. All my joints were achy and sore from the day before, and he just didn't do enough of that. I want you to own that. Like right. I don't want you to try to stand behind anonymity. There we go.
Anemone.
That reminds me of
Finding Nemo.
Finding Nemo. Yeah. Anemone. But yeah, I don't want you to have that veil to hide behind. I want you to 10 toes. Stand on business.
Yeah, I've been doing the evaluations at our gym. Recently, I've done a few because we have a lot of coaches, and the coaches are sort of scattered around. It's kind of hard to get everybody in the same place at the same time. But I really want to emphasize, I over the past year and a half that I've been there, I've been very focused on getting our coaching to a certain level that meets my expectations. And, as with everything we do, once it meets my expectations, then it's like, okay, well, now we got to change the expectations, right? Once we hit that bar, we got to raise that bar. So now that other coaches are doing a lot of the things that I've been asking them to do over the past year, guess what? It's a new year.
Yeah.
So now there's specific things that I want you to focus on. And there's three specific coaches now who are experienced coaches who have had their L1 for multiple years, who are considering getting their L2. And
Nice.
for one, it's not a consideration for me. For me, the L2 is next. That is what your target is. It's not like, oh, you should think about it. It's when are you going to do it?
Yeah.
And I feel like it's my job to make sure that they're getting there. And I feel like me doing the evaluation is going to be very different than another coach doing the evaluation, because one coach who is less experienced is going to look at it from their eyes and say, oh, you did this, this, and this well. And, according to the document, maybe you didn't do this or you didn't check that. Whereas I'm looking at them from the 6 criteria, teaching, seeing, correcting, group presence and attitude, demonstration, and then my favorite one. No, not my favorite one. My favorite one is presence and attitude, group management. But just yesterday, I was watching one of the coaches, and then afterwards, I was like, let's sit and talk about this. And right up front, I'm like, obviously, none of this is bad, right? This is all good. One of my sayings, everything's positive. Everything negative is also positive, right? So let's take a look at this and see how you fit into that 6 criteria, right? The group presence and attitude is great. Group management is good. Presence and attitude is great. Those are the two things that I've really harked down on over the past year. Now I want you guys to focus on this. And one thing that I'm really big on is coaching throughout the warm up. It actually really irritates me when I see a coach read the warm up, demonstrate movements from the warm up, and then set a clock and hit go. And all of a sudden, the group is doing the warm up all on their own, and the coach is just standing in that, I call it the penalty box, right in front of the warm up, right in front of the whiteboard. I purposely get myself out of that area and touch points with each athlete, watching them warm up, because if you start coaching them at the warm up, the expectation for them is that you're going to continue to coach them throughout the entirety of the class. You can't let them warm up on their own and then during the workout go and be like, oh, you know what? Keep your heels down. Oh, you know what? Make sure your knees are tracking over your toes. They're going to be like, where did that come from? So, especially with newer athletes, I want you coaching for the entirety of the hour. I want you coaching them through the warm-ups. I want you coaching them through the specific warm-ups. I want you coaching them through progressions. And I want you to have a purpose for everything that you're doing, an intention for everything you're doing. So, that's where my evaluations are coming from now, and it's with that specific goal. If you're, and I'm looking for specific workouts to then go and evaluate. If there's a deadlift day, I'm going to go evaluate you on deadlift day because I want to see if you're checking for the points of performance. If there's a snatch day, I'm going to go through and I'm going to check to make sure that you're going through progressions for your snatch. Doesn't have to be specific progressions. I just want to see a plan. I want to see a purpose. So that's where I'm at with the coaches, and I'm pushing them, and I'm going to continue pushing them. I want to see them pushing each other as well. But obviously, it all starts at the top.
Absolutely. Got to apply that pressure.
Yeah.
So how do you help your coaches get over the being too nice, like not giving enough critical feedback, or like, I don't want to say negative feedback, but feedback that is adverse?
In reference to what, to like when they're coaching the athlete, or from coach to coach?
No, like if they're doing, do you still do peer-to-peer evaluations, or no, it's just you?
Well, for right now, I've been the one doing it. I
Okay.
do want them to do peer-to-peer evaluations.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, the mindset is we're all here to grow. We all signed up for this. And when you sign up to be a coach at Sweat Factory, I assume it's the same at Mindforge. You're not signing up to just coach and just get paid for a couple hours and then get a free membership. You're signing up because you want to be a better coach. You're signing up because you want to positively impact people's lives. And the best way to do that is to care about coaching. I have two simple rules as a general manager, as a human, as a father, as whatever you want to see me as. I have two simple rules, right? Apply yourself and give a shit. That's it. Most people have three rules. The number of three is a very powerful thing. I only have two. It's that simple.
Yeah.
If you want to, rule number 3, see number 1.
There you
know
go.
what I mean? But it's very simple, and I feel that if you apply those two rules in anything in your life, you can be successful.
Yeah.
You don't even have to be the most successful, but success is inevident, right? There is no need to come in and overstress things. There is no need to come in and overdo things. Just apply yourself and just care. And if you do that, it's going to be perceived by the athletes that way.
Yeah.
Wow, this person cares. We have a new coach at our gym. Her name is Isabel. Coach Isabel's been fantastic. She comes with a great background. She's got an OPEX background. She's also done CrossFit. I think she's done her level 1 twice now. And if there's one thing that won me over about her, and I'll be honest, when I first met her, I wasn't convinced that she would be a good fit, right? When I saw her interacting with athletes, she swayed me in a way that most people don't, because her ability to care about athletes is insane. I absolutely adore her. She comes in and she will meet anybody and find things out about them that I would never think to ask. She just really is a psychological coach, which I appreciate of her. And when new athletes come in, she'll introduce them to the class, and immediately everybody's going to say their name. Everybody's going to say their favorite movement. Everybody's going to say how long they've been doing CrossFit. Like, she has a go-to. She has a plan for that interaction. Now I'm working with her on applying that to other situations within class. And she's very dedicated to her craft, which I really appreciate. And like I said, she won me over. She's been such a beautiful addition to the gym. And, seeing each coach develop in their own way is a really fun process. But, going back to what we were talking about, which is the evaluations, I do have them evaluate each other, and we don't have hurdles of, somebody's going to be mean to me or somebody's going to be critical of me. The idea is, I want you to evaluate me. I want you to tell me where my faults are so that I can get better. The same way that it's when you're in class, I want you to tell me how I can get this movement that I can't get. Or I want you to tell me how I can perfect my clean because I'm not getting under the bar fast enough, or my elbows aren't coming up. It's the same thing when you're coaching.
Yeah.
I want to know that I'm going over on my time. I want to know that I'm not giving people the proper warm-up. I want to know that I'm not being creative enough with my coaching. I challenged one of my coaches yesterday. I want you to be more creative. If you don't like the warm-up, if you don't like the progressions that Level Method is giving you, that's perfectly fine. The only thing I don't want you changing is the workout. Everything up until then is up to you.
Yeah.
If you want to throw up an EMOM for 15 minutes as opposed to doing just 15 minutes of back squats, do it.
Yeah.
I'm cool with that. Give people a dedicated amount of time to work on something. If you want to change the warm-up completely, change the warm-up completely. Do something that you feel is going to be more effective. That's your realm to play with, and it's only going to allow you to imprint your personality on how you're coaching.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, that was my only. Actually, no. Let me not say that. That was my biggest gripe with Level Method. I thought it was a fantastic program, and it makes sense for a lot of people. I just did not like the warm up. I don't feel like it was a warm up. I feel like it was too much like physical therapy. I'm gonna, stabilize this. I'm gonna go ahead and try to get this activated, and it's just like we can also do that while getting our heart rate and our body temperature up as well. It doesn't have to be some static hold or some single leg variation of something that we're going to do for the workout anyway. Let's do the movements we're going to do, or close to the movements that we're going to do for the workout. I did want to ask you, you mentioned, I'm paraphrasing heavily, but you mentioned it being basically like a requirement, not a requirement, but I'm going to say requirement for your coaches to get their L2. Is there a plan for the gym to help your coaches? Did I say athletes? I meant coaches. To help your coaches get their level two, or is it just like something you guys strongly encourage and they have to do it on their own?
Um, I wouldn't say there's a plan, but right now I'm in the mindset of highly encouraging them to take the necessary steps so that they feel like it's not intimidating. A lot of times coaches start coaching and they wonder, oh, when is the right time to take the L2? When is the right time, to go for that next credential? Whereas I want them to understand that there isn't enough time in this world for you to prepare for something. Just go for it, right? It's just like I was having a conversation this morning with Barry. Barry was like, "Are you ready for the Open?" And I'm like, "Isn't the purpose of the Open to not be ready for it?" The idea is we're going to continue to push ourselves as athletes as hard as we can. When the Open comes, whatever they throw at us, we're going to go for it. But there really isn't a way to be prepared. That's why the Open is the way that it is. Comes out on Thursday. You got a limited amount of time to wrap your head around the workout, and then you just go for it, right? I really like that approach. I like the approach of I'm not ready. I'm just going for it. That being said, doing the work day in and day out is the best way to prepare for it. The best way to get ready for your L2 is to coach and coach as intentionally as you can so that when you go to your L2, you're not just winging it. Now you're putting into practice everything and having somebody say, hey, that is very, very good. Let's add another very to that. Let's make it 3 very goods. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I remember going to take my L2, and at the time, I was studying under you. So I went, and there was a slight intimidation factor. Then when I saw the other people coaching around me, I'm like, wow, I'm a pretty good coach, And as I went through, the coach was like, very good. And we had to demonstrate a specific movement that they gave us. They gave me the deadlift and they gave me the air squat. And on the second day, I said, Coach, I really want to get more out of this. Can I go for another one of the 9 movements? And he's like, but we didn't give you that one. And I'm like, I understand, but I would like to take a crack at another movement because then I have 3 movements that you helped him with as opposed to 2. And he said, done. So I went for the med ball clean, which I love coaching. And he was like, good job. As long as you know all your progressions, don't reinvent the wheel. It's all in the book for you. Just read it there, stick to that, and you'll be fine. And that's kind of where I'm at with my coaches. You're going to read the L2 manual and go through all those pieces. And if you just study them just a little bit, if you just read through them one time, when you go to the L2 course, the coaches will guide you in the proper way. You'll be fine, I went through a similar experience recently when I took the L3 course. Studied for it, daily basis, going through journal articles, going through this, going through that, and sat down at the test. And as I'm sitting in the test, I'm like, oh man, I don't know that one. This is something I got to learn. Okay, I don't know this one either. This is something I got to learn. Long story short, didn't pass, right? And the reason why is because there was a lot of things I didn't know. And I'm okay with that. But had I not taken the test, I wouldn't know what I don't know.
Yeah.
Now I have a better idea of what I need to study and target directly what I need to learn. So again, it's not a matter of I'm not an effective coach or I'm not good enough. It's a matter of there's that little bit extra of a mile that you have to go. And once you do go that extra mile, then you'll be prepared. It's a very different test. The L3 is very different than than the L2 is. The L2 is based on practically coaching and actively demonstrating to coaches around you that you're capable of coaching versus the L3 where it's all on paper. And it's answering the best of questions versus right questions and wrong questions.
Yeah. And that's the part that not bugged me, but was the most stressful with the L3 test was just that they kept asking, what's the best answer? And I'm like, well, 3 of them are the answer, but I think this one is the best.
Right.
So it's really being able to decipher between the minutia of not only movement but also knowledge, right? Like, is this somewhat, a lot, very little? You know what I mean? Like those type of questions. Those type of questions. Um, you really have to dig a little bit deeper into like the nuance of things. Like it can't be just that, for lack of a better phrase, superficial or surface area. Like you really got to get your pickaxe out and dig some
Yeah.
dig some stuff up.
There's a lot of experience involved in it as well, like we talked about, right? Like I've never had the opportunity to coach a pregnant woman.
Mm.
You've coached several pregnant women, and there was a lot of questions on there where I was like, I don't know. Like I'm gonna pick the one that would least result in a baby popping out during class. That's how I see it.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's a lot of things that experience would play a big role in that, and I know that one of the ways to apply for the test is having coached a certain number of hours in a college or university standpoint
Yeah.
versus like CrossFit coaching. So experience plays a big role there, and while I do have a good amount of experience, there's no going around time.
Yeah.
So
If a baby ever did pop out, I'm definitely putting that on the website for sure. This is the kind of gym we create. People get born here, fam. You know,
people get
so
born here,
healthy. We're just
changing lives and creating
and
them.
creating them.
Oh,
We're bringing
man.
people into the world.
So I was going to ask you a question going back to what you originally said, which was that you have a hard time kind of getting things over the finish line.
Yeah.
Is that something where it's like a trend for you? It's very difficult, like once you start something to get it done, or is it specific? So, and I'll give you an example. Like for me, when it comes to tasks at home, it's very difficult for me to finish things just because it's my house, right? I'm comfortable there. I know that I could just do it tomorrow or the next day, so I put it off and it might go 6 months without getting done. When it comes to work, it's almost like, okay, well, I got to get this done and this is my deadline. So let me get it done. And I do it. I don't, to me, it's not a matter of being a procrastinator or not being a procrastinator. It's almost like selective. So is that what the case is like for you, or is there just a matter of like you get bored with something halfway through with it and then you don't finish?
No, it's more so a problem with short term versus long term, or like the consistency. Like if I know like house chores and stuff like that, that's stuff I know I can knock out within that day, whether it takes 1 hour or 6 hours. I know by the time I go to bed that night, I can get all of my house chores done. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
As opposed to like the project that I was talking about, like that's not something that you're probably going to get done in one day. One, you don't know how long it's going to take you. You have no idea. There's just some arbitrary number out there of how many hours you're going to actually put into this.
Right.
And there's stuff that you still have. Well, I had to research. I had to look at other different foundation programs. There was a lot involved in it, and you don't, like you said, you don't know what you know until you get into it, and then you're like, oh, let me go look this up. Let me go look that up. So all that uncertainty makes it feel like, well, one, it makes the consistency harder for me. So like I'll do it on day one. On day two, I'll remember. If I don't write it down, I won't remember. So I usually write it down. And then on day two, I'm like, oh, yeah, I need to get back on that. And these are the things, this is where I left off. These are the things that I need to do. And then, you know, by day three, I'm like, okay, I'm still keeping the ball rolling. By day four, I usually finish some part of it.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like there's a natural stopping point where I would either have to learn more so I can do more, or I would have to get feedback from someone and they could tell me what else I need to do. You know what I mean? Like there needs to be a learning process so that I can continue doing what I need to do. And that's when projects for me, or a lot of things for me, kind of get put on pause. Excuse me. Get put on pause because I'm like, okay, well, I'll read that article later, or I'll research that later, or you know what I mean? Once I get this perfectly, then I can go back to that. And I mean, that's just not a thing. Like it's never going to be perfect. You know what I mean?
Right.
So once I hit that kind of wall, it's hard for me to go away from it, learn what I need to learn, and then come back to it. I'll usually get the learning part done, but then coming back to it, I might start another project during that learning time, or I might get distracted with something else, or work gets busy, and I just
Yeah.
put that on the back burner and never return back to it, and it just sits half done in my Google Drive folder.
Yeah, I ask because it's like, I have put so much effort into researching this. For a long time, I was like that, where like I needed to do certain things and I wouldn't do them. Um, One thing that I got really good at was failing when I was a video editor, right? For the majority of my career as a video editor, I was editing in news, and for those of you that don't know, news happens at specific times of the day, right? So 5 p.m., 6 p.m., 11 p.m., whatever. And somebody writes the script for you. They tell you where the video files are, and then you're supposed to visually match the script with whatever the video you have is available to you. And there's a couple things there that make it difficult. One is you have writers who are very lazy, and they will write a story from another story without looking at the visuals. So they'll tell you this entire story without having seen the video, and then you're left looking for pictures that don't exist, which is so freaking common.
Yeah.
The other thing you have is you have actual storytelling. So there's what they call a news package, which is usually minute and a half, 2 minutes of a specific story that is condensed. And in that case, there's a little bit more detail involved, where the producer writer is actually, in most cases, it's the actual reporter or anchor who writes the story. And they were with the photographer shooting the images. So they have a better idea of what images are there, and they try to write the story to that. Still doesn't happen well or well enough, but it was always mind-blowing to me how an anchor would give me a story and say, here's a story for you to edit. And I would say, okay, cool, where's the footage? And they would say, it hasn't been shot yet. And I would say, what do you mean? Oh, yeah, the video hasn't been shot yet. We're sending a photographer to go shoot it tomorrow. And I'm like, how in the world is that possible, right? So one thing that made me really good was, one, editing in short periods of time. So I had to get a video, and let's say news starts at 5 o'clock. In many cases, and this happened all the time, there was a breaking news story. Video would be sent to you literally minutes before, right? Photographers out there, they're shooting live, and somebody at the station is recording the video. And while they're recording that video, you're watching to see what the best images are. Mm-hmm. And as soon as that video is buffered or downloaded to the actual server, because we don't have tapes anymore, you would actually edit the video, clip it. You have specific time segments you want to hit, and then you would upload it to the show, and the anchor would read live on the air. So that was one specific way of doing it, where you're doing this in seconds, right? Then you had the longer format stories, which were more fun for me. But one thing that I had to learn was how to compartmentalize my day. If I came in at 9, there was, let's say, 3 to 4 hours of video, including interviews and whatnot. The reporter would give you a script. The way that you would build out the skeleton is you would find your sound bites first. They would tell you soundbite 1 is at 335 to 360, okay, or 355. Cool. So you take that bit, you put it down, and you would interlace that with the reporter's voice track, right? I'm teaching you guys how to edit video here. But you would interlace that, and then once you were done with that, it was called a skeleton, you would go out and find the best video images. And there was many times where story was airing at 6 p.m. It was the lead story. The promotion team had already cut numerous commercials for this, promotions for this, that they were airing throughout the day to hype the story. I'll just throw a random thought out there. Investigation on a illegal marijuana place in, whatever house and district or whatever it is, right? You're editing this story knowing that your deadline is this time, and there was times where it was 5 o'clock, and I was not only still editing the story, but sometimes I would delete the entire timeline at 5. And now I had 1 hour. And now it was like, okay, I spent from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Maybe I had a 1 hour break in there, but I spent the entirety of the day putting together this thing, right? I was failing and failing and failing, and then I didn't like it, wiped it out, and in 25 minutes built the entire thing back up, edited it better, put a couple transitions in to make it look flashy, and then boom, here you go, you got a story. And one thing that taught me was that it doesn't matter how much time you go putting into it. If you understand what the vision is and you understand what your deadline is, you can still always make it happen in that time, right? It made me really efficient. And I don't say that, in a way where it's like, oh, you should scrap everything you've spent 2 months working on and just do it in 2 days.
Yeah.
But in many cases, and this is, I think, something that's very real for creative people, is that's kind of how it works.
Yeah.
For a lot of creative people, the fact is failing is a natural part of creativity.
Yeah.
And if you don't fail and you don't ruin exactly what it is that you're putting all your effort into, you can't get to the other side.
Yeah.
And that's probably where I really learned to appreciate failure, which is why failure is progress.
Yeah, brother. I think that's why another reason why it is difficult for me sometimes to get it over the finish line is because, again, being a perfectionist, like if it's not perfect, then what are we doing here? You know what I mean?
Right.
Like that's the mindset that I'm having. I'm not saying that's my opinion, but that's the mindset that I get into sometimes when, like, sometimes you just have to say good enough is. I used to say all the time, good enough never is. And me constantly telling myself that all the time worked in some aspects of my life very, very well. I feel like you said, with the creative stuff, it doesn't. Sometimes you have to get into those flow states and just see what comes out. You know what I mean? Sometimes it's going to be trash. Sometimes it's going to be a masterpiece. But you just have to see what it's like. But having that idea that it has to be the masterpiece all the time, it's like, okay, well, I have this trash and I just spent 2 hours on it. Okay, well, I'll put that aside and I'll come back to it when I can make it a masterpiece.
Right.
And then again, it just never gets across that finish line.
Well, and I think I guess that's kind of where I was going, right? I would spend all that time chasing perfection, only to realize it's not going to be perfect.
Yeah.
It just needs to tell the story.
Yeah.
Right. So nobody at home, and this was one thing that I was famous for saying in the newsroom, like nobody at home is sitting there going, oh, well, that was a jump cut. And I cannot believe that you guys did that. Oh, by the way, you did this. Like nobody at home is seeing it that way.
I mean, you are, but.
You are, right? But it's the same as like you told me
you
when
now, because you're not in news anymore.
I don't
so when
watch
you do,
news. I stay away from. I like being happy. But it's the same as when you taught me, or I wouldn't say taught me, but when I was beginning my coaching journey, where you were like, dude, you're the coach. If you come to class and you say something and it's not exactly what you planned to say, nobody in the gym is going to be like, oh, by the way, you forgot to say this part that you had planned for. They don't know, right? And that's just the reality of life. It's the same as when you're saying a speech, right? You're saying a speech in front of a huge crowd and you're in your own head. You forget to say something. You're like, oh, I forgot to say this. Nobody knows you forgot to say that, right? At that point, it doesn't matter. So it's kind of like neither here nor there. It's trusting your process and allowing yourself to learn from those failures, from those mistakes, from those missteps along the way. That's the part where the growth really happens,
Oh, absolutely. And I think that's what I'm experiencing now. Like I've mentioned a couple times, just rewriting some of these stories that I've been telling myself for so long that I didn't even realize how much were affecting like literally every aspect of my life. You know what I mean? So it's been cool. Like I said, I'm feeling proud right now. I'm feeling really proud. That's probably why I did halfway decent in that workout today, is because I'm feeling up right now. I know it's not gonna last forever, but I'm gonna ride the wave while I can.
Well, and I think that's important, right? One thing that I loved about the coaching development process that you placed for us was it was always a work in progress, right? It's never a set in stone. Like, oh, we have coach development. This is what it looks like. Versus, oh, we have coach development. This is what it looks like now, right? And that's my favorite part about this entirety, this whole thing, right? The whole CrossFit thing. I had somebody yesterday, actually no, today, somebody said to me, "Wow, you've got some serious goals, right?" And I'm like, well, yeah, I've always had goals. My goal is always be better today than I was yesterday,
Yeah.
right? And people see me now and they say, "Oh, well, you can do this or you could do that," and I always couldn't. It was the pursuit of getting that.
Yeah.
That's always getting, the satisfaction of your hard efforts, right? We talk about this a lot, right? What's the most beautiful part of gymnastics? That there is no end. There is no RX. There's always harder.
Yep.
There's always more difficult. There's always that next movement that is going to make things more difficult. Okay, cool. So now you've reached the most. You can do an iron cross. Great. Can you do it for 30 seconds? Oh, you can do it for 30 seconds. Cool. Can you hold it for a minute? Okay, cool. You can do it for a minute. Can you do it without breathing for a minute? Like,
Yeah.
there's always that next step where it's just you're never done. And I think it's a great reflection of life.
Yeah.
I think it's a great reflection of what it is to be a human being.
Yeah.
A lot of people are like, oh, this is so difficult, and oh, I wish life was easier. Why?
Yeah.
Why? Do you not want to get anything out of it? Do you not want to pursue anything? Do you just want to exist? Like when Ant-Man goes into the quantum realm and he's just like spinning around. Is that what you want? Just to spin around and do nothing,
Yeah.
Get a little bit more satisfaction out of doing the hard things that really benefit you.
Yeah.
Do those uncomfortable things as an athlete, as a human, as a parent, as a brother, sister, mother, father, daughter, as everything. And that's where we excel as coaches, man.
Yeah.
That's where we have the opportunity to excel as coaches. Not all coaches do.
Yeah. Yeah. There's definitely the opportunity there.
I can say at both of our gyms, our coaches are pushing themselves to excel. And if they're not, especially in my gym, I'm going to push them.
Dude, we have, like, in this area, we've got we've managed to bring in a lot of really good people. Shout out to Hunter and Valeria, starting their new venture. Shout out to Coach Alex, who got his L1. He's had his L1 for a while, but now he's getting into the nitty gritty, and just coaching and really bringing a professional standard to the space. I mean, over at your gym, like you were saying, Coach Isabel, we got Coach Yoli. Coach, is Megan still coaching?
Megan is still coaching. Megan's doing great too.
Yeah, she's always had the personality stuff, the presence and attitude, and the gym and group management stuff. We just had to, get her reps in. I've been saying that since day one. She's an awesome person. Everybody loves her.
I actually had an athlete last week. She was passing by, and he's like, "Dude, she's so awesome.
Yeah.
I will come to her class any day of the week."
Yeah,
when
can't help but smile when she's around.
And that's the thing. Like, when you care,
Yeah,
people can tell that you care.
yeah,
And when you don't care, people tell everybody else that you don't care, right? It's the same as we talk about, like, when it comes to marketing, right? A good review will probably reach 1 or 2 people. A bad review is going to reach 1,000 people.
all of them. Yeah,
Every time.
Yeah.
So it's like, care. All you got to do is care, and people will know. I dropped into a class recently at Groveland, and I went to go watch Coach Lauren, and she's just phenomenal.
Yeah.
Lauren is phenomenal. Lauren cares about every single person, and she demonstrates that she cares about every single person, and the athletes appreciate it. There's nothing more fulfilling when somebody comes up to you and says, "Thanks for the class, coach. That was awesome." You know what I mean?
Yeah.
As a general manager, the second most fulfilling thing is when somebody comes up to you and says, "That was an awesome coach. That was an awesome class. Thank you for having that person here." Being able to see that in other people is an important trait. Especially when you're general manager, you have to kind of do that.
Yeah. You gotta get good people in, but I also think, like, good people are going to attract more good people. You know what I mean? Like, people that don't take the job seriously or don't take it as a profession, like even if you're doing it part time, there's still a professional way to go about it. You know what I mean? And those people that don't take it professionally, when they have to come in and get evaluated before you even get your job, that's
Mm-hmm.
going to shy some people away. When you
Mm-hmm.
have to come in and get evaluated frequently after you get the job, that's going to shy some people away. When we have a standard of how we want our classes run, that's going to shy some people away, especially the more veteran coaches who have, they're used to doing things a specific way. Good, bad, or indifferent, they're used to doing them a specific way, and now we're asking you to do it our way, or we try to do things as close to the CrossFit way as possible.
Of
So
course.
do them the CrossFit way. It can create some barriers for people that, or some hurdles for people that they don't want to jump over.
Well, I mean, we talked about this recently. I dropped in at another affiliate. It's one of my goals for this year is to get to see different coaching, to get exposure at different affiliates and see what other coaching is like, what other programming is like. And I dropped it in another affiliate on a random day, and I was open with them and told them, I general manage another gym, and these are my credentials, and my hope is just to try to get more exposure. And um, he was very upfront with me, like I'm not the best coach, and that's not what I do, and he was not the best coach. I think I appreciate the honesty, but why would you not want to be the best coach?
So
Why would you have that opportunity missed, so to speak? Every single person that walks into your gym is an opportunity for you to change their life.
yeah,
And it doesn't matter who it is. It doesn't matter if Rich Froning is coming into your gym, if Matt Frazier is coming into your gym. It's an opportunity for you to change his life in some way, shape, or form. You may say just the right thing to make the 5-time fittest person in the world say, damn, I never thought of it that way.
yep,
Right? It's a missed opportunity to change somebody's life in some microscopic or mega way,
yeah,
right? And again, that's just my perspective.
yeah,
But those are opportunities that I constantly try to teach my coaches. We are fortunate to have a lot of drop-ins and a lot of new members at our gym. We're in a very busy area, and every single person that walks in, young, old, some larger, some not so large, doesn't matter. Every single person is an opportunity for us to demonstrate that we are here to make you the best version of yourself.
yeah,
And I don't take that responsibility lightly. I've told every athlete, every person in my gym, flat out, my goal is to always do what is best for my gym.
yeah,
And in a nutshell, what that means is I want everybody to have the same experience that I've had with CrossFit.
yeah,
I want everybody to have the same experience that I've had with Sweat Factory. My life was changed. It was that simple. It took me 8 years to get the courage to walk into a CrossFit gym. I understand what it's like to be intimidated to step into a CrossFit gym. I also understand what it's like to overcome that fear and then have your life completely changed.
yeah,
That doesn't mean that everybody that walks into our gym is going to become a coach, and that doesn't mean that everybody's going to get into CrossFit and become a CrossFit diehard. I do want everybody to become a better human diehard.
yeah,
Right? Like, I want to be the best human. I want everybody to wake up every morning and be like, you know what? Today I'm going to be the best human. If I can instill that in one athlete out of every class, I'm doing my job.
yeah.
That's all I really want.
Yeah, we're just building a bunch of David Gogginses.
Hawkins is I don't know, man. That guy's a cyborg.
Yeah, that's clearly a joke. That man
I'll
is
leave that
not.
I'll leave that to Elon Musk. He can do that. Make a bunch of cyborgs.
I'm gonna leave that one alone. All right. Well, this has been a dope catch-up session. It's always good to see you, brother. Hear what's going on in your life. See what you're working on. Last question: do you have any resolutions, goals, aspirations that you feel like 2025 is your year to get it?
Funny you ask, man. This year, all of my aspirations for the year are related to other people.
Okay.
And I mean that wholeheartedly. I get so much satisfaction out of watching other people reach their goals, succeed. One of my biggest goals is to watch my youngest daughter, Maddie, get on the volleyball team
Nice.
at the start of next year. So, she really wants to do this. She's driving me absolutely bananas playing volleyball every second of every day, and I want her to get that. I have a big goal for, like I said, a few of my coaches to get their L2, and I'm going to highly encourage them to go for it this year. I have a lot of athletes who are trying to get bar muscle ups for the first time, and I'm going to push them to get there by doing the basics. So all my goals are related to other people, because if I can help 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 people hit their goals, that's a lot of goals, right? It amplifies that situation. My personal goals, they never change, man. It's just be better today than I was yesterday. Immediate goal is the Open. The Open is coming up quick, and I really want to throw on a show for everybody at my gym, and I know that I'm going to this year because it's not last year. Last year was my first year doing it, and it was a bit of a learning process for me. And now that I've been through it, I'm a lot more prepared this year. I'm excited to get it done, and I'm excited to see a lot of people see how much fitter they are this year than they were last year.
Yeah.
So, what about you?
Nothing crazy, or nothing. I guess crazy isn't the word. Nothing super like tangible. More conceptual stuff. Like I really want to hone in on just being more consistent with my actions. So much like procrastinating, I also I'm really good at doing things in short bursts. You know what I mean? So I want to try to lengthen that out. Right now, getting back into working out. I think this is day 3 in a row, and I made the mistake of doing a 2-a-day yesterday. I don't know why I did that. I do know why I did that, because the workout in the morning, I only saw one person checked in, so I was like, I can't. It was a partner workout. I was like, I can't let them do it by themselves. So I came at 6 a.m. and then the weightlifting club workout looked really, really fun. I'm a little biased because I write the programming, but I love back squats, and we had heavy back squats, and we had some clean and jerks, and I love split jerks. So I was like, yeah, let's get it. But my legs are definitely jello now. So yeah, I don't have anything super tangible, more conceptual stuff, like just being more consistent with my actions, and now since the mindset cohort, my biggest goal for this year is just to be even more curious with people. I thought I was a curious person until I realized that the questions that I ask were questions that people can easily avoid answering completely. You know what I mean? They're the ones where you can kind of get away with giving some like surface level of information and not really digging into like the feelings of what we're discussing or something. You know what I mean?
I
Like
saw a really good video on this. I'm going to send it to you.
Yeah.
But this guy is in a room, and he's like, there's 10 levels of creating conversations. And he starts at level 1, and he's like, hey, what's your name? And the guy's like, Steve. And he's like, all right, Steve, how are you? And the guy's like, good. And he's like, that's a level 1 conversation right there. Next person. Hey, what's your name? Mary. Mary, how are you? And she's like, great. That's a level 1 conversation. Can anybody get me to a level 2 conversation? So he tells one guy, what's your name? Joe. Joe, how are you? And he goes, I'm great. How are you? Bam, we got a level 2 conversation. And he like keeps progressing from there, and everybody starts to realize what it takes to kind of build good conversations. I'm going to send that video to you. It's a good video.
Yeah. So
just be virtuous, man.
Well, yeah, absolutely. But I've always had the concept of like ask that one more question. So if I ask, hey, how are you, or what's your name? Frankie. Cool. How are you? Good. Awesome.
Why are you answering all my questions?
What do you do for work?
Oh, now there's a question.
Now there's a question. Yeah.
I'm a coach.
You're a coach? Awesome. Where do you coach at?
I coach a Sweat Factory CrossFit Afterburn in Davenport, Florida.
Oh, wow. I've been there before. Do you know Coach Gabe?
I do know Coach Gabe, both of them.
Both of them? Oh, there's another one now. There's a new one?
G6.
How long has he been there? Oh, you call him G6? That's a dope nickname.
G6 and OG Gabriel.
Ah, okay. That's dope. Are they still doing level method over there?
Yes, we are.
Oh.
Proudly.
Proudly. I like that. What makes you proud about it?
The accessibility to everybody. One thing that I've gotten really good at lately is scaling up. We've got some athletes who are needing to scale up. So it's pushing us in a different direction, whereas typically we have to scale down. Now I'm getting the opportunity to scale people up, and it's kind of fun because they're like, oh, okay, I'll do it that way.
Yeah.
And then when I'm not coaching and then the other coach doesn't scale them up, I'm like, what'd you do? And they're like, I did what was RX on there. I'm like, oh, no wonder you finished in 3 minutes. So, yeah. But Level Method it hits a sweet spot for us.
Awesome.
Definitely.
Awesome. So those are the kind of conversations that I thought I was doing, like kicking ass at. But we got to thoughts and opinions. We never got to emotions. And I didn't realize that there was that extra, like, deeper level. You know what I mean? I'm really good at getting to thoughts and opinions. But to really have somebody open up and be vulnerable and show their emotions, I hadn't got there yet. So that's kind of one of my goals this year, is to really stay curious to the point where people are, like, telling you their deepest fears. They're telling you their greatest aspirations. They're confiding in you.
Yeah, one tip I will give you.
Just the tip.
I used to do this when I did my mindset coaching and my sales coaching. One thing that has always made me very good at sales is I'm a very good listener. Most salespeople have something that they are trying to sell you, so they are fixated on what they're trying to sell you versus listening to you and understanding your needs, right? If you come in and you're looking for something very specific and I don't listen to you because I only want to sell you this, I'm not a good salesperson. It goes the same with conversation, right? If you meet somebody and in your mind you're already thinking about what you want to talk about, you're not going to listen to them and you're not going to have a great conversation, right? So just listening it'll get you 50% closer to where you want to go. And now you're just listening. All right, man, this has been a good one. I really appreciate chatting with you. I miss you, bro.
Absolutely.
We definitely, speaking of goals and resolutions, one of our goals and resolutions together is to get these out more frequently and get them done on a more consistent basis.
Absolutely, brother.
So,
and guys, definitely let us know what you think about this episode. This was kind of a catch-up episode between me and Frankie. It's been a while since we've been together. It's been a while since we've been together on a podcast. So we really wanted to catch up, and we wanted you guys to be a part of that experience. So let us know what you think. If you want more episodes like this of us just shooting the breeze, seeing what we think about the CrossFit space and about coaching, we definitely can do that for you. Hit us up in the DMs at at Failure is Progress. See, I got fixated on CrossFit again. I couldn't get my words out. At Failure is Progress. Hit us in the DMs. Let us know what you think. All the likes, all the comments have been so great. We've been putting out more reels, and all the love that we're getting on there has been awesome.
Yeah, and also we've added a new channel on YouTube that we're very proud of. Keith worked very hard on that. So if you guys want to check us out on YouTube or YouTube Music, you can subscribe to the podcast there. That helps us out. And very soon we'll be getting video going with this. So yeah, make sure you check that out.
Lights, camera, action.
All right, y'all. You have a beautiful day, whatever day it is for you. And we'll catch you on the next one.
Take care.